everyone. My name is Kalpana Baines, and I am class of 1999 and also the proud mother of Kavir in 7th grade and Rajan, who's a sophomore at Dwight Englewood right now. I'm excited to be here as co-chair of the Alumni Relations Committee alongside my fellow co-chair, Courtney Collins. I also serve as a trustee, and I'm especially excited to be part of the DE community in these roles at such an exciting time in DE's school's history. DE has always felt like a second home to me. Now, as a parent, I have the joy of experiencing it all over again through my children's eyes. I choose to stay involved and to give back because the school has had such a lasting impact on my life. The teachers who inspired and challenged me, the values that DE instilled, helped shape me into who I am today and prepared me for life beyond graduation. While the campus looks a little different now, what hasn't changed is the incredible sense of community and the dedication of DE's educators who continue to spark curiosity, confidence, compassion, and innovation, creating lifelong learners and preparing the next generation of Bulldogs for whatever the future might hold. And now, please help me welcome Courtney Collins.
Thank you, Kalpana. I'm Courtney Collins, class of 2007, and I'm thrilled to be here today introducing some very impressive alumni. DE was an integral part of my early life. It provided me with an education, a moral compass, and a sense of community. It was meaningful for my entire family. My older brother and sister both graduated from DE, and I myself was a lifer. My parents recognized how special DE was for the three of us and enjoyed being involved in different ways. A broad community made that experience so meaningful for me and so many others, and I'm grateful to remain connected with DE today. Now I have the honor of introducing Lucy Jerome, class of 2022, who is currently a senior at Tufts University. She, along with her sisters, were all lifers here at DE, and now are making their parents and the DE community proud. We could spend a long time talking about the Jerome family, including Helen Jerome, who is a beloved member of the DE community. But today is about another Jerome, Mark. So Lucy, please come join us to honor your father.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Lucy Jerome. I graduated DE in 2022, and I'm currently a senior at Tufts University. I have two older sisters who graduated from DE as well. Many of you may know my dad, and if you're unsure of whether you've met him or not, I can assure you you haven't, because he's a very memorable person. Growing up, I knew my dad worked at a college, was once a lawyer, and I thought he may have been a coach of some sort because we attended a lot of Monroe basketball and football games, but I definitely didn't understand the full picture. As I got older and more aware, I realized my dad was not just a coach or a teacher, though he kind of is both of those things. My dad is the president of Monroe University, a university founded 92 years ago by my great-grandfather and great-aunt, providing education to a diverse student body, many of whom came from under-resourced urban areas or are the first in their families to graduate college. My grandfather, Stephen Jerome, who's here today, is celebrating his 60th year at Monroe as well. My dad always taught me to give back to the communities that I'm a part of and the institutions who help shape who I am. And my dad does this by leading by example. He's dedicated his life to giving back to the communities he is a part of, whether it's DE, where he served as a member of the board for 9 years and led the Alumni Relations Committee for a lot of years, or in the Bronx, where Monroe serves as a pillar of the community, giving people chances they never thought they would have. I experienced this firsthand this summer when I interned for Congressman Richie Torres, a Bronx congressman representing the 15th congressional district. One day, my boss, 2 other interns, and I spent a day working at a booth at a Bronx police station community event. All of a sudden, a very tough-looking former police officer came up to us with what looked like tears in his eyes, staring at me intently. He looked at me, looked at my boss, and looked at me again and said, "Is this a Jerome?" My boss, laughing, told him that yes, I am the Mark Jerome's daughter, and he said he recognized me from my father's social media. He went on to talk about how working at Monroe changed his life. The people there became a family to him, and that my dad was the man. He told me that if I didn't know it already, the Jerome family has impacted so many people's lives in the community and has given so many people of the Bronx new opportunities. He also added that his favorite day of the whole year was when my father, and my grandfather also did this before him, served homemade pies to 1,000 of their employees, so all of their employees before Thanksgiving. Told me this is the favorite, yeah. He told me this was his favorite day of the year because those pies are the best thing he will eat all year. This moment is where I saw my dad's impact in action and is very representative of who he is. He cares deeply for everyone around him and makes an impact wherever he goes. So I'd like to welcome my dad, Mark Jerome.
Good afternoon. You know, I didn't expect to be emotional coming up, but as you'll hear, first thing, when it's your youngest daughter and all of a sudden they get up and they're all of a sudden a woman, it sometimes hits you for those of you who have children, but also today brings together a lot of parts of my life. It is a pleasure and honor for me to be here today. And I do want to start off by acknowledging Wendy Gordon Rockefeller, my fellow nominee, who's an incredible person, Last night, the class of 1985 had an unofficial reunion of course, at all places, a bar in Manhattan. I understand it went very late, and many more members were supposed to be here today, but I actually understand some of them are still at the bar. You're going to hear a little bit about this. So I feel blessed to be receiving this recognition because I credit my experience at Dwight Englewood for helping me grow from a skinny, big-haired ninth grader, wearing flannel shirts in the 80s, to be able to become a person who could successfully lead a university that is 92 years old. I'm in the 3rd generation and educates 10,000 students, and we take care of 1,500 employees, and we really make a big difference in our communities. And it is a huge burden, but it's a blessing for me. And I go to work every day with 3 goals. And this I definitely consider a blessing. First, how could I help our students? So my dad's gonna make me cry. Second, how can we help our employees? And third, what can we do to help our community? And so, as you heard from our daughter Lucy, Dwight Englewood has been a huge part of my life and my family's life for many years. Our 3 daughters graduated and they were lifers. My dad served on the board before me. I served on the board for 9 years. My wife Helen first started as a volunteer, then eventually became the dean of admissions, and this was a big part of her life. When my children enrolled at Dwight Englewood, one of the first surreal experiences was sitting down for a parent-teacher conference. And it was especially surreal when I sat down as a parent with a teacher of my daughter who taught me. Because for some reason, the relationship of teacher-student doesn't always change. And as I was there about my daughter, I was expecting, Betsy Carson's husband, Jerry Krauthamer, to say, Jerome, your writing isn't that good. Your speaking really isn't that. You're not at my standard. And so that was a big, big change. Also, a major point in my life when my oldest daughter decided to follow in my steps. I was a runner here and a runner for Tufts University when she joined the team. Who was her coach? Jerry Krauthammer, known as Kraut. And who did Kraut coach before that? Me. And so that was a blessing for me to come 30 years later and have my daughter be coached by the same man who coached me. And what was even a bigger blessing, she was a much better runner than me. And actually, her college essay that got her into college was about how she started following me training. And then by the time she was a senior, I was following her with the running. And that hasn't changed at all. I'm following her ever since. I want you to know that. So Dwight Englewood has played a big role in my life. Some of you may know I'm born in the Bronx. My name is Mark Jerome. My dad and I work on Jerome Avenue, which I'll tell you about another day. We moved to then Rivervale, which is really far up. And at one point in 8th grade, my mom and dad said to me, "We think you and your brother should apply to Dwight Englewood." I had no idea. And it was one of the best decisions they ever made. My best friend from Rivervale was Tom Yang. He's here. Give him a little round of applause. And Tom and I, whatever Tom did, I did. Whatever I did, Tom did. That's not true. I'm a big kimchi eater, Tom. So he's from Korean descent. But to start with, first thing, my classmates from '85, you actually had a big impact on my life. I want you to know that. You're part of my journey. We actually had a class with very diverse interests, and that was proven to me last night. We had athletes and actors and attorneys in the making. We had people interested in finance. Lisa Landau's here, and Tom Yang is here. And we had people interested in the fine arts. We had future marketers and people who were destined to go into nonprofit work. We were, to say the least, a very interesting, eclectic group. And I want you to know, academics at Dwight Englewood absolutely helped me prepare for both college and the world. And this is something you hear from Dwight Englewood alumni all the time. Last night, as I was driving home from the bar with someone who had a few too many drinks, he said to me, "You know, my daughter's in 8th grade, and she's reading Fahrenheit 451, and I remember that very well." We read books that impacted us and had an impact on our lives, I think. For me, I wrote down, I remember Fahrenheit 451, Great Gatsby, Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, and A Separate Piece by John Knowles. Any other book from my class that you remember? Catcher in the Rye, To Kill a Mockingbird. We took classes and participated in clubs and organizations that shaped who we would become. I distinctly remember taking a class that I don't think you could find anywhere else. The class was called Third World Politics. This is the 1980s, the Reagan years. The teacher, John Stott. The subject matter, Vietnam, apartheid in South Africa, and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. He was sure then it would be resolved, and that was years ago. But the reason I bring it up, that was a class you couldn't really find anywhere else. Then I was blessed, I'm not sure I remember exactly what it was, to take either a law or a moot court class with Lisa Landau Carnoy's father, who was actually a nationally acclaimed trial lawyer. I looked it up first today, inducted into the National Hall of Fame for trial lawyers. And then for senior project, we had senior projects then. I interned at then Congressman Torricelli's office. And what I'm certain is these things prepared me for a life in law and government. I'm absolutely certain of that. When I arrived at Tufts University, the fall of '85, I was nervous about academics. And actually, I had no reason to be nervous about academics. It soon became clear to me, as it has become to thousands of Dwight Englewood graduates, the people in the room will know this, that we were well prepared for university. Most of the classes, or many of the classes I took at Dwight Englewood had higher rigor and better teaching than many of the classes I took at university. How many of you feel the same way? A lot of you in the office, all the alumni. And so I also credit my ability to write and speak effectively to what I learned here. I see all the people's heads going up and down. Lastly, I am certain that Dwight Englewood provided me the ability to be involved with something, to belong before belonging was really a thing, in a way that would not have been available to me at my large public high school, which would have been Pascack Valley. I played basketball. I played tennis. I ran track and cross country. I had a voice. I forgot that I spoke at graduation, and the first version of my speech to my dad read, and he was a university president. He was like, I will never let you read this speech, because it was not the most respectful speech. And I also ran track, and Jerry Krauthammer was a great track coach. He gave me one instruction: follow and try to keep up with a man named David Gendelman. And so David Gendelman was what we call one of the smallest and mightiest people. He was one of the greatest runners in the state of New Jersey. And part of what made the class of 1985 so interesting is that we actually were not that well behaved. And so when I arrived at the bar last night, Conrad Lattis, who's here today and is generally well behaved, told me a story about junior year trip to Washington, D.C., and something with alcohol. And then when my daughter started at DE, one of the first people who I met, this is for our faculty, was Joan Maffetone. And Joan Maffetone, when I arrived, was already one of the most senior, well-respected teachers at Dwight Englewood. And she said to me, my first year at Dwight Englewood, I taught your class, the class of '85, in English, and it was one of the worst experiences of my entire life. And the only good thing about it was like a crash course in classroom management. And so that was the class of 1985. And so DE made an impact on me, but also, as you've heard, on the generations of my family. Our 3 daughters graduated from here. They were really well prepared and did well in university. Our oldest daughter became a celebrated runner at DE. She, runs a 5-minute mile. She holds all the records. I think it's going to be a long time until those records are broken. And she was the captain of her college team. She broke the mile record at Hamilton College. She's running the Philly Marathon in a few weeks. She hopes to run under 3 hours, which I think is very fast. Lucy, next to me, follows in my footsteps. She's a budding political science major, and she's intending to go to law school. And our middle daughter has a lovely career in fashion at a company called Maison Margiela, which is pretty hip. Then there are my parents. Can you please raise your hand? Okay, now, I'm not going to reveal their age, but let's just say, and you have to look at them, they look terrific for their age. But if you ask my dad, he partly credits his good looks and good health to Dwight Englewood. So wait, I'm going to tell you why, though. So here you go. Have any of you ever rooted for a runner in a long-distance race? And if you have, sometimes you realize you want to see the runner in more than one spot. So the runner goes by, and then you run to the next spot. At high school cross country in New Jersey, we not only ran on courses that were in the woods, but they were incredibly hilly. And I'm thinking back, my dad, who must have been in his 40s at the time, was a great fan of mine. And he would see me at mile 1. And then I knew he would sprint through the woods, up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the hill, to mile 2. And he would yell for me. And then he would sprint through the woods to mile 3 to the ending, where I was like having trouble. And he would root for me. And at the end of the race, I had to look at him and make sure he was okay, because he had run possibly more and faster than I had run. And I think all that running and rooting in the 1980s set the foundation for his good health today. And so I thank Maria Sanchez Gardner for organizing tonight. I thank Amy Hembry and Laura for last night. We had a great time. I thank Dwight Englewood for the award. I look forward to seeing the many great things that the class of 1985 and all the Dwight Englewood alums will do. And I also look forward to seeing our new head of school lead a new chapter here. Thank you so much. We're going to take a picture. We're going to take a picture over here. Where do you want it? Over here?
Thank you, Lucy, for that beautiful introduction. What a meaningful way to celebrate your father's achievements. And Mark, congratulations on this truly well-deserved honor that reflects your lasting impact and contributions to the DE community. I now have the honor of asking Jane Simoni to the podium. Jane was a former student at DE and part of the class of 1975. The class of 1975 had a huge turnout last night, and they raised the bar for all other reunion classes. Over 50 classmates gathered here in Hajar Auditorium last night to reminisce and share laughs. Jane has graciously agreed to join us today to honor her fellow classmate, Wendy Gordon Rockefeller. Not only have they shared a long friendship, but they also share a passion for the environment. Please help me welcome Jane Simoni.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. How am I doing? I'm not used to holding a mic. I know it has to be recorded. I am delighted to be back in the Dwight Englewood spotlight again. I am much reminded of Martha Robinson's class in public speaking, where we had to present once a week on the stage at Skank Auditorium. Anyway, here I am, as I said once again. But however, I must reflect on one higher profile memory over at that other auditorium, and that is when Bonnie Raitt performed here in April of 1972. My committee was raising money for the scholarship fund. Miss Raitt was charging us $1,200 or $1,000, something astronomical at the time, we thought. We only had 2/3 of that money to offer her. Nonetheless, she accepted and performed. So, my first foray into fundraising. Well, today we have our own superstar, a homegrown celebrity. Wendy is my lifelong friend and my serious ally in environmental conservation. Our career paths are hardly parallel. We have zigged and zagged in almost opposite directions, but we have always shared our passion for the preservation of our environment. As a landscape architect, and again, as her childhood friend, I've been fortunate to witness and support a lot of Wendy's projects over these many years. At Mothers and Others for a Livable Planet, she wove environmental activism with public health. She published the Green Guide to advise that tiny economic unit, the family, to make changes at home that were healthy and environmentally sound. At Trickle Up, a nonprofit, not a bank, she worked tirelessly on its board to promote microloans to underserved entrepreneurs around the world. It was and is amazing still to see how little capital, a little capital, can make such an enormous difference in so many lives. Then came PIP, her conservation reward program for students that gives them real-world credit for doing good work conserving their resources. The list goes on, as you can see in the program, with very detailed explanations. Otherwise, look her up. It'll take you an hour. To sum it up, though, in her own words, Wendy's mission has always been to build awareness of our individual power to make a difference. That is a mission practically worthy of sainthood, if you ask me. But she is far too humble to ever consider that, so don't go there. Wendy and I often laugh about our shared experience celebrating the first ever Earth Day on April 22nd, 1970. Together, on our homework assignment, we crafted a paper mache globe in our kitchen at 116 Walnut Street, just down the road. The balloon, the mache, the paint, it was a real project. We were so excited to be part of the wave of change. And I still am. May I please present Wendy Gordon Rockefeller.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, DES. To the class of 75, it has been a delight to reunion with you all after so many years. What a wonderful group of people, which leaves me at once humbled and a bit baffled by this distinction. Channeling my stammering, and you may all remember me as such, self-doubting 17-year-old, the image I can't kick is of a claw machine at an arcade being used to reach in and grab this year's awardee. Not you, Mark, but me. Truth is, all of us alumni are darn lucky to have gone to Dwight School for Girls, the Englewood School for Boys, and post-merger DES. Well, the boys might have been luckier because as the story I heard back in 73 is the girls' school was better. For those of us who were in high school, getting serious here, in the early 70s, it was not an easy time. Well, there had been hard-won strides made for civil rights, women's rights, and the environment. The Vietnam War was well into its second decade. And with the end of the draft, a country already divided seemed to be coming apart at the seams. I remember where I was standing in assembly the morning we learned about Kent State. That was 1970. May of 7th grade. It felt so close. The shootings could have been just outside the building. In 1971, there was the Pentagon Papers. 1972, the Watergate break-in. Then in 74, Nixon resigns rather than being impeached. For a teenager, it seemed endless and dizzying, like the world had spun off its axis. It's an eerie similarity with today. But what's different now is schools aren't just the stage for protests. Learning institutions, even learning itself, is under assault. Books are banned, speech is censored, research grants are retracted, satellites collecting critical climate and health data have been disconnected. Peer-reviewed science is being replaced with reports written for predetermined conclusions. And with social media platforms and AI ascendant, knowing what is real and who to trust is getting harder and harder. It's a dark, distressing time. And yet, as regards the academy, I share the faith of Bill McKibben, the Middlebury professor and environmental activist, who doubts that the scientific method will go quietly. The human desire to know and to understand will continue to produce results. Which brings me back to DES. I called it DES, but that's because, yeah, okay. As long as the professor says it's okay. Something was awakened in me on that first Earth Day back in 1970 when Jane and I bought a beach ball and in her kitchen on the bottom of Wall Street, covered it with pictures about threats to the environment and to health that we found in Life, Time, and National Geographic. And funny, many decades later, I would work at Nat Geo after it acquired a little green media property that I had co-created. That stirring to engage with the world around us was well nurtured at DES. In Mrs. McEwen's and Mrs. Lauderdale's science labs, Mrs. Hellman's history class, and Mr. Greco's history, he also fully shared this passion for film, which we all just reveled in. And of course, there was English with the inimitable Mrs. Sagan. And in middle school, an English teacher named Miss Sherman, who we produced a collection of our poems as a vinyl record. Who remembers that? Promises to Keep. Yeah, that was a pretty cool thing. We were lucky. Teachers here did more than prepare us for college. They taught us to think critically, to discern fact from fiction, to work as teams, to solve problems, to create solutions, to stretch and build key muscles, the muscle to be a better listener, to empathize, to engage with ideas with which we disagreed. I burst out of DES in 1975, eager to leave, with a pretty clear sense of purpose. The modern environmental movement, as Jane was alluding to, was beckoning, and I was going to be a part of it. My college thesis was an in real time Erin Brockovich whodunit. But instead of industrial solvents in drinking water in California, it was industrial solvents in New Jersey. While it was never made into a movie, my thesis was appended to the report to the town, and the party whodunit did have to clean up the drinking water supply. There will always be challenges in this world. But in the word of Rebecca Solnit, I don't know if anybody knows her, but she's a best-selling author of books on social change and the climate crisis, including one post-Katrina on human behavior in times of disaster. We were made for this. In times of crisis, we show up. We look out for each other. We defend values and principles, nature, science, and truth. I'm really grateful for this chance to look back on our years at DES and express my thanks. The world needs more lifelong learners, truth seekers, problem solvers, empathizers, and doers. Thank you, DES, for nurturing these qualities in all of us and for making us for these times. Thank you.
All right. Can we give an incredible round of applause to these two unbelievable, distinguished alums? Unbelievable. It is, listening to the both of you, it gave me chill bumps because it makes and reminds me of the incredible opportunity that this school has given so many, but also to the incredible space that I hold in terms of this being the head of this school. It is not often that you get to see what a place that you run does and has done for people. And so the work that both of you have done in your lives and your career that you credit back to this school is humbling to be the head of school here, because I understand what that work means. I understand how hard it is, but more importantly, I understand the importance of it. And so while we are here to celebrate the two of you, and it's amazing, it also, I hope, for all of us, gives us hope in terms of what this school has been, what it is, and what we know it can be. We really do. So thank you. Listen, it is an incredible honor to always come together as one in terms of our school. And for many of you, you have long histories here, much longer than my own as the head of school here. But I hope that my tenure here is filled with many, many more moments like this. I hope that my children will graduate from this place understanding the values, understanding the strength, and understanding the history that is Dwight Englewood, or the Dwight School for Boys, and you called me the Ball School for Girls, the Englewood School for Boys. I know, listen, put that on, chalk one up for James. All right, I'm new, come on. But seriously, I hope that my children have an opportunity to come back at some point in time as alum Maybe not as rowdy as the class of 75 last night, but come back nevertheless as alum to experience what I've experienced today, which is the love, which is the importance of, and the special space that this place holds for so many. So again, congratulations to the two of you. Such well-earned and well-deserved awards for the both of you. And I am proud to call you both Dwight Englewood School alums. So congratulations.
All right, I think that's going to wrap up the awards ceremony. Congratulations again. If everybody can head downstairs to the cafeteria, there's going to be, the dining hall. All right.
We're old school.
Word and lesson dining hall. We can continue on with drinks and dinner. Thank you.